This is little Lisa. She had a gap in her teeth, loved horses and soccer, and she didn't see any reason not to dream big because she grew up in the 1980s and 90s, the era of women can be anything feminism. And yes, this is going to be an unapologetic, things were better in my day nostalgia post because they were. Let's go back in the time machine on a journey to see how they were better and how they've changed. My childhood, like many girls of my era, was pretty gender neutral. I had short hair and played soccer. I was reared on Sesame Street, Power Rangers, and The Legend of Zelda. And I was brought up with the very positive notion that girls and women can do anything, that a girl can get educated and strive to have any career or hobby. The only thing that limits her is how much work she puts in and how passionate and creative she is. She can have any personality. She can choose any path in life. She can be a doer. She can have agency. She can be an action figure, a heroine. Growing up, we watched a lot of television. And on TV, there were female role models who were wholesome and not sexualized. The style and fashion of the 90s was age appropriate, and it was cool to wear overalls and big sweaters. There was an interest in young women and in representing them not as precocious sex objects, but as people full of ideas and things to say, as passionate and activist. Music, too, was in an amazing moment for women, and I grew up with grunge and Riot Grrrl. Women were filling new roles and being unapologetic in taking up space. In and out of the mainstream, there were so many opportunities for women to express themselves in a wide way. There was so much acceptance of women as people and not objects. And because this is a good old days post, I'm going to gloss over Madonna and Baywatch and Barbie and why every Disney princess was problematic. We can talk about those things some other time. I definitely didn't think much about sexism when I was growing up. The feminists who came before little Lisa did such a good job of building a landscape where young girls like me could feel empowered. I never felt limited in what I could do or be just because I was female. And then things changed. Feminism changed. And if I had to single out one inflection point in pop culture to represent that change, it would be this. Britney Spears' point of no return exploitation photo shoot at 17 years old in 1999. In my opinion, this is CP. And when society said that this was okay, we fell off a cliff. And I genuinely feel sympathy for young women today who were born and grew up after this moment and didn't get to experience the landscape that came before it. To those of you who entered the world after 1999, let me just tell you that Britney Spears' popularity and influence in that cultural moment were massive. She was the first of many in the trend of transforming young female celebrities from wholesome to sex objects, which remains a common practice to this day. The worst part of this is that pop culture feminism has not fought back against this portrayal of womanhood, but it instead has embraced this narrow, sexualized, pornified view of womanhood as empowering. I don't know why, because it's not. Actually, I do know why. It's because of men. It's because feminism stopped caring about women and started prioritizing men. When feminism started to ask, how can we be more appealing to men? It died. Feminism is supposed to be about liberating women from oppression, which should include both eliminating objectifying depictions of women and expanding opportunities for women, things that really go hand in hand. And the more liberated we are, the more empowered we can become, the more we are able to achieve real, actual power. But instead of fighting back against this sexualization and against the replacement of dynamic, actualized role models with one-dimensional sex objects, mainstream feminism embraces it. And that brand of feminism has really killed the women can be anything feminism that I grew up with. part of me wonders if mainstream feminists felt a sense of resignation. Like it's easier to just go with the flow than to fight back. To look at what is a cage and say, well, this is what we got, better love it. To delude themselves that any choice a woman makes is an empowering choice, even if the choice is the result of coercion or brainwashing. As little Lisa grew into a young woman in the 2000s, I encountered a much different world than I was led to believe existed as a child. I experienced sexism in the workplace, which I had never experienced in school, and that was really depressing. And as feminism evolved or devolved, I tried to go with it by embracing what I was told was a route to power, which was performing beauty and sexiness. I found it very empty and unfulfilling, actually. I felt like my power was going to be in acquiring a man who had status. Rather than achieving something actualizing for myself, I needed to find someone who I could stand behind and slightly off to the side as an accessory to an action figure. And modern feminism said I should feel empowered by that. But it just felt shallow and hollow to me. That liberal feminism has embraced and pushed this narrow view of womanhood as the true womanhood has actually shrunk the possibilities for women. And furthermore, it's enabled gender ideology to take root and flourish. Now to be a woman is to be cis, to conform to stereotypes and love it and embrace it. And if they don't want to do that, now women can opt out of womanhood altogether by following postmodern gender theory, which states that if you feel uncomfortable in performing stereotypes associated with your female sex, then you are either a man or non-binary. And then by rejecting womanhood, you have all the options in the world open back up to you. You don't have to be a sex object. You can be anything. I think this is really represented by actress Bella Ramsey saying she's not a woman, but instead, I'm very much just a person. Gen Z is growing up believing you have to choose one or the other, a woman or a person. You can't be both. If a girl rejects traditional femininity and doesn't want to act out WAP in real life, or heaven forbid, wants to cut her hair short, then modern feminism tells her she isn't a girl or a woman at all. Whether one is a woman now has nothing to do with being female. It's about embracing or rejecting stereotypes, which is also how feminism has come to accept males as women when they perform stereotypes and even sometimes when they don't. And of course, all of this is propelled by the prevalence of social media. I grew up way before social media. We had dial-up internet, AOL, and walked to school uphill both ways in the snow. Something we also don't have anymore. When I went to school, professors communicated with us by landline. That's a phone that's plugged into the wall. Now, social media has really reinforced this idea that there are two options for girls and women. They can either embrace womanhood and all its stereotypes or choose a freer path by transitioning. So it's no wonder that girls are transitioning at record rates. Because instead of telling them women can be anything, we're telling them that you can either embrace sexism and sexualization, or you can be not a woman. We need to bring back women can be anything feminism. We need to have role models for girls that are not so damn superficial. Girls need another path that doesn't lead them towards getting Botox and a facelift in their 20s, where athleticism is replaced with ass crack leggings, where influencer is a career to aspire to. Because who would want to go down that path? We need to push back against these limiting ideas. We need to go backwards to go forwards. We need to make feminism radical again. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!